The history of organized crime in America is filled with names that invoke fear, respect, and intrigue. Among them, Tommy Lucchese, often known as Three Finger Brown, stands out as one of the most influential and feared figures in the underworld. As a key player in the New York Mafia, Lucchese built an empire that controlled vast criminal enterprises. From bootlegging to gambling to racketeering and extortion. Despite his fearsome reputation, he was also known for his intelligence and ability to evade law enforcement for most of his career. Today we'll explore the life, rise, and legacy of Tommy Lucchese, the hitman who terrorized the streets of New York. Tommy Lucchese was born on December 1st, 1899, in Palermo, Sicily. Like many Sicilian families, the Luccheses migrated to America in the early 20th century. Seeking a better life, they settled in East Harlem, a neighborhood that would later become a breeding ground for organized crime. The streets were filled with struggling immigrant families, and crime often became the only viable means of survival. Young boys grew up watching gangsters flaunt their wealth, making it an enticing yet dangerous world to step into. Lucchese, like many others, was inevitably drawn to this lifestyle. Tommy had a terrible accident when he was young, which would have had a lasting impact on his life. He lost 3 fingers after his right hand became stuck in a machine while he was working at a machine shop. Due to his injury, he became known as Three Finger Brown, a moniker derived from Mordecai Three Finger Brown, a well-liked baseball pitcher at the time. Tommy transformed what would have been a crippling handicap into a personal characteristic, in spite of the physical impediment. He was clearly identifiable due to his malformed hand, which he used instead of concealing, allowing mystery and terror to envelop his image. Despite this physical setback, Lucchese was determined to survive and thrive in the rough streets of New York. He quickly became involved in petty crimes, aligning himself with the 107th Street Gang, which was led by Tommy Gagliano. This gang would eventually evolve into the powerful Lucchese crime family. Tommy proved himself as a valuable member, demonstrating a sharp mind and an uncanny ability to avoid law enforcement. He specialized in auto theft, racketeering, and other lucrative criminal activities, gradually earning the trust of influential figures in the underworld. His calculated approach to crime allowed him to rise through the ranks with precision and efficiency. During the Prohibition era, 1920 to 1933, organized crime flourished as bootlegging and smuggling liquor became highly profitable. Lucchese and his gang took full advantage of this opportunity, making a fortune in the illegal alcohol trade. His intelligence, ruthlessness, and ability to stay under the radar made him a valuable asset to powerful crime figures such as Lucky Luciano and Frank Costello. Unlike many gangsters of his time, Lucchese preferred to maintain a low profile, ensuring that his wealth and influence grew without drawing unnecessary attention from law enforcement. He developed key relationships with corrupt officials, further solidifying his place in the Mafia hierarchy. Lucchese's reputation grew further in 1931, when the infamous Castelmarasi War broke out between 2 major factions, one led by Giuseppe Joe the Boss Masseria, and the other led by Salvatore Maranzano. Lucchese aligned himself with Luciano, who planned to overthrow both leaders and restructure the Mafia. After Luciano orchestrated Masseria's assassination, he and his associates, including Lucchese, helped eliminate Maranzano as well. This led to the creation of the 5 Families of New York, a system that would define organized crime for decades. Lucchese, with his strategic mind and unwavering loyalty, was instrumental in ensuring the smooth transition of power, eliminating rival threats with precision. Lucchese was rewarded for his loyalty by being appointed as the underboss of the Gagliano crime family, named after his leader Tommy Gagliano. Under Gagliano's rule, Lucchese managed operations related to gambling, narcotics, labor racketeering, and extortion, expanding the family's wealth and influence. He was known for his ability to balance brutality with diplomacy, ensuring that business ran smoothly without unnecessary bloodshed. By fostering alliance with labor unions and politicians, he secured a steady flow of income while minimizing law enforcement scrutiny. His strategic vision and disciplined leadership would later set the foundation for the Lucchese crime family dominance in the decades to come. Unlike many other mafia bosses, Lucchese led with a quiet and effective style. He preferred making deals instead of using violence, but he was willing to order killings when needed to stay in control. His power was not just in crime. He influenced labor unions, controlled important businesses, and had strong connections with corrupt politicians, police officers, and judges. He knew real power came from controlling people in high positions, rather than using force to get attention. In 1951, after Tommy Gagliano died, Lucchese became the boss, and the family was later named after him. Under his leadership, it became one of the most powerful crime families in the country. He carefully expanded their business in construction, waste management, and transportation. He stayed in power for a long time by working behind the scenes, making deals that helped both criminals and legal businesses. One of Lucchese's greatest strengths was his ability to stay out of the public eye, while still maintaining control. Unlike flashy mobsters like Al Capone, he avoided unnecessary attention, which helped him evade law enforcement scrutiny for years. He built alliances with other crime families, including the Genovese and Gambino families, ensuring that his organization remained untouchable. His diplomatic finesse allowed him to mediate disputes among rival factions, preventing unnecessary conflicts that drew unwanted attention. Under Lucchese's leadership, the crime family expanded its operations into multiple industries. Some of their most profitable ventures included labor racketeering, loan sharking, gambling, narcotics smuggling, and contract killings. He understood that controlling the labor unions meant controlling the city's workforce, and he leveraged this power to extract bribes and extort businesses. He ensured that legitimate enterprises were deeply intertwined with his criminal network, creating a financial empire that generated millions annually. Despite his distaste for publicity, his reach was undeniable, influencing everything from real estate to law enforcement decisions. Lucchese's calculated leadership ensured that his family remained one of the most formidable forces in organized crime. He proved that strategic intelligence, rather than mere violence, was the key to maintaining power and influence in a world where loyalty was fleeting and betrayal was just a bullet away. Lucchese was calm and collected in contrast to some of his peers who loved the spotlight. He knew that the greatest way to wield authority in organized crime was to operate in the background. Even while individuals like Al Capone garnered media attention, Lucchese made sure his business operations were hidden from prying eyes. In order to keep his group safe, he developed connections with politicians, business people, and law enforcement. He had a very significant impact on the labor unions, particularly in the garment district. Lucchese could extort money, rig contracts, and dictate terms to companies by controlling the unions. In addition to bringing him enormous fortune, this also gave him control over sectors of the economy that were essential to the city. His authority also extended to the transportation sector, where he made sure that only companies with Mafia approval could function without facing any difficulties. He had such a firm hold on these businesses that it was almost impossible to carry on lawful business without his consent. Lucchese was incredibly adept in evading conviction, in spite of his involvement in a number of unlawful actions. Throughout his life, he was arrested multiple times, but he avoided harsh punishment because of a lack of proof of dishonest officials shielding him. He developed the practice of assigning responsibilities to dependable subordinates, who made sure that no paper trail pointed back to him, rather than directly managing the most damning element of his operations. This made it nearly impossible for prosecutors to develop a viable case against him. His 1930 arrest for auto theft stands out as one of the most well-known run-ins with the law. He surprisingly avoided more attention by entering a guilty plea and serving a brief prison sentence. After that, he took great care to make sure his name was never directly linked to any illicit activity. For decades, law enforcement was frustrated by his reputation as one of the most elusive criminals. To stay ahead of any inquiries, Lucchese also kept up a network of informants within law enforcement. He was protected at the highest echelons of society because of his calculated partnerships with business people and officials. He maintained his network by deftly using intimidation and bribery to make sure that he was informed of all possible threats before law enforcement could take action. This ensured he sustained dominance in the criminal underworld by enabling him to eliminate threats before they became real. By the early 1960s, Lucchese's health began to decline. He suffered from heart disease and other ailments, which weakened his ability to lead. As his physical condition worsened, he delegated more responsibilities to his trusted lieutenants, ensuring that his criminal empire remained stable even as he became less active. His sharp mind, however, remained intact, and he continued to offer guidance on major decisions affecting the family's operations. Despite his reduced involvement, his name still commanded respect and fear, both within his organization and among rival crime families. He died in 1967 at the age of 67, leaving behind a criminal empire that flourished even after his passing. A tribute to his enduring impact is the fact that several prominent members of the criminal underworld attended his funeral, despite it being more subdued than that of other notorious mobsters. Although his death signaled the end of a chapter in the Lucchese crime family's history, his impact endured. His tactics, which ranged from political corruption to labor racketeering, were ingrained in the Mafia's activities for many years. His legacy persisted long after he passed away, because subsequent generations of organized crime bosses studied and imitated his strategies. His ability to maintain a low profile while exerting immense control over the criminal world was a lesson that many aspiring mobsters sought to emulate, solidifying his reputation as one of the most effective and intelligent mafia bosses in history. Tommy Three-Finger Brown Lucchese was not just another mobster. He was a mastermind who built one of the most powerful criminal organizations in American history. His ability to blend ruthlessness with intelligence made him a formidable figure in the underworld. While his legacy is one of crime and corruption, it's also a testament to how organized crime evolved in America. Even today, his name is remembered as a symbol of power, fear, and control. Though he may have terrorized the streets of New York, he also changed the way the Mafia operated, proving that the most dangerous criminals are often the ones who remain in the shadows.